Fish on First Live is presented by About the Fans. We've partnered with them this season on a brand new merchandise collection featuring t-shirts, polos, hats, and other accessories that Marlins fans will absolutely love. Head on over to aboutthefans.com to shop the FOF collection. Use our special coupon code FOF10 to save 10% off your order. Enter code FOF10 at checkout to save 10% and continue supporting what we do over here.
This is Griffin Conan.
This is Xavier Edwards.
This is Liam Hicks.
This is Dave Myers, and you're watching Fish on First Live.
Fish on First Live, presented by About the Fans. A brand new experiment for how we're handling these live streams here as entering the final weeks of the season. I am Eli Sussman as usual, and Kevin Burrell by my side, as he often is. We should have some of our other staffers joining us as well. A post-series reaction stream, and I think at the very end we'll look ahead to the next series as well. Certainly something different than we're used to doing, but we appreciate everybody hopping in. As usual, presented by About the Fans. That's where you get our merch, like hats, t-shirts, stickers, other accessories. Aboutthefans.com. Use the promo code FOF10 at checkout to save 10%. Yeah, with the unorthodox scheduling of the series, the Labor Day early afternoon start, it wasn't really feasible to do our usual time slot, so we're mixing it up. But I think we think this might be the norm moving forward. You'll let us know in the comments, and more importantly, what happens with our post-series content. We think this is going to be a better way to distribute some of our takes and segments after the fact, and just make this better content and more compelling stuff for you guys moving forward. Ultimately, you guys will be the judge. So thanks everybody who's been supporting us all season long at Fish on First. Yeah, Kevin, let's just start with the overview here. This has to be in the running for one of the worst series of the season for the Marlins. They're playing a Nationals team that was 30 games below 500, one of the only teams in baseball significantly worse for them. People will remember way back in June getting swept by the Rockies in Miami. This is probably in that same conversation for most disappointing series of the whole year, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's either this one or the Rockies one, right? I feel like the Rockies one probably I would say the Rocky one is still the worst one. This one comes in maybe number two, just given obviously the Rockies still hadn't won a series up to that point. Nationals, we knew who they were. They'd given the Marlins trouble last year. For some reason, I don't know. It's just a terrible series for the Marlins. Could have been worse. It's, on top of that, all the injury issues. He had the ejection in the first game. Eury just looked terrible. And I really think it came down to his fastball. It got crushed. There's no other way to say it. Gave up an RBI double, an RBI single, and the home run to Nasim Nunez, of all people, off that fastball. Opponents were hitting that fastball with average exit velo of 98.1 miles per hour. So just not a good start for Eury. At least he got through the start for the most part, 4 innings instead of whatever the hell happened in New York, which he couldn't even complete an inning. So yeah, tough series for the Fish. It was good to see, I guess, Joey Wiemer get that home run. I think Augustine had a home run as well. So yeah, could have been better. But Clayton said it pretty clearly in the postgame. Like, they outpitched us, they outhit us, they outdid everything else. So not a good series for the Fish. Got shut out in the first game. Probably could have made the case to win that second game, and then the third game just was terrible. So bad series overall, and doesn't get much easier. You have the Phillies in town coming up next, and they're playing some fine baseball. Not great, but not terrible either.
Yeah, let's get a little bit more into Eury and what's going on, because it wasn't only this start. It was his previous start against the Mets that was also a mess. If you combine the two, 12 earned runs over those 4 2/3 innings in a way that we haven't seen him struggle like that in back-to-back starts before. He didn't get out of the first inning against the Mets, even though he was able to labor through 4 innings this time. It really wasn't much better. He allowed the 8 hits he allowed is a career high. The 7 earned runs he allowed, also a career high. He's never been worse than this at any other point in his young career. So his season ERA all of a sudden is up to 4.66, which is significantly worse than league average for a guy that not that long ago, just a few weeks ago, we were saying, wow, well, I mean, everything was going exactly as planned with him, that this was actually looking like a successful year for him. And man, like you can kind of excuse away his last start against the Mets because the Mets have been an awesome offensive team for a while now. And the fact is that like things can happen really weird in single inning against a great team, but this is a Nats team. You touched on it. They had Nasim Nunez in their lineup. They had Jorge Alfaro playing his first major league game in a couple of years. This is not a good lineup at all that he went up against. One that has been playing terribly for so much of the year. And yet it's kind of a similar result where he gets hit really hard in this one. It's yeah, what do you make of you wrote the recap on this one in particular. So what is the concern level with Eury at this stage where for the most part, this has been a successful bounce back for Tommy John. And then all of a sudden this road trip, all of a sudden it kind of changes the way that we look at his season overall.
Yeah, I wouldn't make it too high, but definitely some concern. I think there needs to be a little bit of a change in the pitch mix. Like, I think we were noting this, like the fastball is just getting crushed. Like, like it was not good at all. And it got 20 swings, only 2 whiffs. So it seems like the Nationals were seeing that pitch extremely well. And he threw it 50% of the time. So he essentially completely let the secondary stuff, the breaking pitches, just not even use them. He used his slider 17 times, 22% of the time. The changeup only threw it 8 times, curveball 7, sweeper 6, and fastball threw it 38 times. That just can't happen. And it became pretty predictable throughout the whole game. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's too high. I think he makes his next start, not in this upcoming series, but the next one. So yeah, just got to see what happens with the area. I wouldn't say the concern is too high. I just think there's a couple things he does need to change. And I don't know what I didn't check the pitch mix stuff from the last game, but this one it seemed it's just fastball heavy, way too fastball heavy. Something that I don't think he really had done in previous starts before this one. It had been a little bit more. He mixed his pitches a lot better, which definitely was working. I mean, you look at the numbers, but the last 2 starts, yeah, they've been really bad. And the Mets, you noted it, that's been a pretty good team, but still the Marlins took 3 out of 4. So you're like, all right, whatever. One blow up start, it happens to anyone, right? But now back to back where it's just been really bad, and it was a career high 7 earned runs today.
And the only reason I'm not more concerned, frankly, is just obviously there's been an adjustment period between some of these guys, particularly the ones returning from Tommy John and Sandy and Eury, and the coaching staff, the new analytically driven way that they're going about their pitchers. And the best pitch that you have, they're going to throw it the most. And I feel like there's an adjustment period between Eury and the coaching staff, as well as the league adjusting to the Marlins, sort of the way they go about their pitch mix. But I agree, Kevin, that if he goes out the next start, I think it would be maybe Monday. I'm sorry. If he struggles again, you're going to have to be a little bit concerned. But remember, Sandy also had a really tough time coming back from the surgery.
What I'll say about today in particular is it was more so just an issue with his control overall. Well, control and commands. The control being that he was getting behind in the count quite a few times. If you look at the Jorge Alfaro double, that was in a 2-0 count. I looked at the Nasim homer. That was in a 2-1 count. And so he was missing with his fastball when he was throwing it. And he was also just falling behind in counts in general where guys can kind of tee up on the fastball and look out for it in the first place. So it was a combination, I think, of both those things, which are correctable. That's kind of what made Eury such a standout young pitcher in the first place, is that he has this freakish build and he's also able to repeat it so well and usually locate his stuff very precisely. And that has not been the case, especially in this one. It's kind of hard to gauge the last outing because it was only 39 pitches and this one twice as long. But even outside of that first inning today, he was still having issues with putting the ball where he wanted to. He's sometimes, if you look at his season overall, he can throw his fastball down the middle on a lot of days and get it by guys. It's not necessarily always an issue, but when you're also behind in the count, and when Kevin, you're pointing it out, where if he throws it a lot and all of a sudden teams are preparing for that particular pitch, then it could, on certain matchups, it could be a lot worse than even if he looks healthy, even if he's throwing almost as hard as he usually does. The results can be pretty bad on a particular day if you just run into a team that has the right plan for you. So yeah, I'm not super concerned. It is yeah, no doubt frustrating for him. And but all things considered, I think he's going to be all right and still has time for what should be 1, 2, 3, at least 4 more starts this season to go into the offseason on a higher note in his case. Now he's at a place in a workload wise. I think he has now thrown just a little bit more innings this year than he did back in 2023. So there's fatigue can always factor into that stuff too. Not placing the ball where you want to just because all of a sudden you're not repeating your delivery as well because you're tired. So that stuff factors into it, but certainly not an injury concern when he's throwing as hard as he is. But yeah, so all things considered, not too broken up about it. We should spend a little bit more time highlighting Nassim and how in the fact that he has 2 home runs. I was hoping that Alex Carver was on here because he was the high man on Nassim when he went to the Nationals in the first place. This is now deep into his second season with the organization. He has spent most of this year in AAA. He just got called up 2 days ago when rosters expanded. He had been in AAA before that. These were his only 2 home runs. Didn't hit any home runs in the majors last year, had not hit any in the majors this year until now. One of those coming off against Eury. The second one was off Lou Arbor Arias. It doesn't really matter at this point. Like they were using their lower leverage relievers at the end, but he did hit it the opposite way. That second one, which it's a reminder that something interesting. And I think, ironically, in this game, he had like 1 misplay defensively for a guy that's obviously the strength of his game, and that's kind of why he was as highly regarded as he was overall. So yeah, good for him. A guy that's still relatively young. It's not out of the realm of possibility that he is still somewhat of a factor with the Nationals team in 2026 and beyond. So even if it's not as an everyday player, this little glimpse of what he can do offensively, you got to feel pretty happy for him. A guy that is very easy to root for.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's now playing the outfield too a little bit. So like he's kind of playing everywhere. Definitely a valuable piece, kind of like that Javier Sanoja type guy that the Marlins have. But definitely very fast. I mean, the defense is great in the infield at short, second. So yeah, maybe a nice little piece that the Nationals have here moving forward. That yeah, I mean, good for him. I don't think he'll sneak many more home runs in his career, but the fact that he got 2 in the same day was impressive to say the least, especially off of a guy like Eury who's one of the better young pitchers in this game. Didn't look like it today, but definitely still I would put Eury in pretty high regard amongst young pitchers in the league.
Yeah, we learned about this sort of opposite field power that he kind of secretly had when he was with the Marlins. He did show it a little bit. Well, I forget whether it was at Pensacola or wherever it was. He did have some of that power. We just knew that it wouldn't translate to the major league level. And this is someone that did get a cup of coffee with the Nationals this year. Obviously had to be on the team last year all year. 503 OPS, a sub 250 slugging percentage, and here he comes out and hits 2 home runs against his former team. Not the first time he's faced the Marlins, but yeah, no, it was a nice, pleasant surprise to see him have so much success today.
Man, yeah. So just anything else about this particular series that I wanted to touch on? Connor Norby, an interesting road trip overall where he hit pretty well, but defensively, a couple issues that stuck out. This is again something we've discussed privately as a staff in terms of where things stand with him. But I think even all our audience is on the same page that this is a pretty important month for Norby, both offensively and defensively. While there's this big void at third base for him to kind of step in and fill things out. Yeah, one thing regarding, I tweeted this out from my personal account regarding today's game, when you end up using Michael Peterson and George Soriano and Lou Arbor Arias, I think that just speaks to the fact that there's room in this bullpen. You don't have to have that many mop-up guys in this bullpen at the same time. And like in particular, I'm going to put out an article on this tomorrow. Like Josh White, statistically, one of the most dominant relief pitchers in all of minor league baseball this year at the upper minors levels, not beating up on younger competition in AA and in AAA. I think I have a photo here of him because doesn't get a whole lot of publicity as a relief-only guy who wasn't a super high draft pick. And his numbers prior to this year weren't anything super duper special. But let me see if I can find it for Josh White. There we go. Let me pull this up.
Jesus.
Recognize that face. Josh White, 24-year-old right-hander with Jacksonville, not on the 40-man roster yet. I don't see any more. We can we've discussed the call-up timelines for the actual top prospects in this organization, like Thomas White and Robbie Snelling and Joe Mack, and reasons why, understandably, the team might want to push those back into next year. But when it's a relief-only guy,
And he's
who has,
24.
it was 24, who has to go on the 40-man roster in the offseason anyway, who has, I think, the best strikeout minus walk rate in all of minor league baseball this year. Like, I want to see him in the big leagues just for a handful of games down the stretch. And I hope that's coming relatively soon. I know that he actually follows our work pretty closely, so shout out to him. I'm not saying that because of that, but he is like the one guy that really sticks out. His fastball has really great life to it, and his breaking balls are pretty nasty. I spoke to Bill Heasel. Do people know who Bill Heasel is? He is the director of pitching for the Marlins organization. He was at Citi Field on Sunday. I spoke to him. Goes out of his way to mention Josh White as being a guy that has had a great season, and the quality of his stuff, especially on his breaking balls, is pretty exceptional. So when I see a game like today, even though it's out of hands because of the way that they fell behind early on, I would have loved to see Josh White eat up one inning out of the bullpen instead of Soriano and Luarbert Arias. That's one guy that I wouldn't be shocked if he gets called up. I hope he does. For people that just don't follow the minor leagues super closely, this guy's had an amazing season. So I just want to mention him.
Yeah, you mean Luarbert Arias isn't good enough? He was in Double-A before the call-up? I'm sorry, he was in Beloit. He wasn't even in Double-A.
If you follow his year, like they put him on the development list for a very long time in the middle of the year. And yeah, it's very I don't know. I don't think it's really necessary to have this many mop-up guys on the roster at the same time when you have one guy. This guy in particular,
you want to see what you got in certain guys, and they're not doing that clearly with certain players. So it sucks, but yeah.
Dominant season for White. 93 strikeouts and 59 and a third innings pitched. And Eli said it perfectly. That there's just with the bullpen, especially in September. I know rosters don't expand as much as they used to, but there is plenty of room for a couple of guys down in Jacksonville's bullpen that you can add up here to the major league roster instead of Luarbert Arias and George Soriano. Unfortunately. Yeah, I hope to see. Did anyone have him in the call-up contest? Josh White?
No.
I don't think so. He was good last year as well with in terms of really strikeouts, but not so much in terms of the run prevention.
Right.
Yeah. So man, nobody. There were plenty of relievers taken that are further away. I think we had Josh Eknes taken, Nigel Belgrave, and those guys are
Robinson Pena, baby.
Whereas
Pena.
Yeah, drafted in 2022, so a DJ Svilick and the main guy.
He's
second to last draft for Svilick.
A homegrown reliever, just so everybody's on the same page about what the bullpen looks like right now at this moment. Seth Martinez is hanging around as well. He did not pitch in this particular game, but it's
from Seth Martinez down. Yikes!
Martinez looked good. I'm sorry, Peterson looked good.
I was actually very impressed. He was like hitting 98, 99. I was like, whoa, I did not remember this.
Yeah, among the lesser notable guys here, Peterson, interesting. I like Freddie Tarnuk too. I wanted to see more of him. I'm glad that he at least got brought up again. I would have liked to see him a little bit more at the big league level this summer. But yeah, it's not to single. I have to single guys out. Just to single guys out. Seth Martinez and Luarbert Arias and George Soriano. All three of those guys at the same time, I just don't get it totally.
You could even make the argument Lake Balker, who's just they've shown the willingness to send down before. You know, he's another guy who has struggled a little bit, and they're willing to give him a lot of reps down there in the back end of the. I guess he's one of the few higher leverage guys that they have right now. So I guess maybe not, but still, there's just so many names who don't need to be there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One other thing from this series, I did want to touch on Joey Wiemer today. He hit his first home run of the season. He got on base like 3 times overall. Kevin, in particular, I know you've been skeptical of Derek Hill as the guy that's contributing on this team, and it looks like he's going on the IL for the 4th time. There's a chance that his season is over with a hamstring issue. And Joey Wiemer, I think he's the guy that kind of slides into, he's going to get a little uptick in playing time as a guy that is also a right-handed hitting outfielder that plays good defense. This is a little window for maybe Joey Wiemer to show something down the stretch, because I think we agree that Derek Hill is probably not going to be part of this organization moving forward. Doesn't hit, and with the injuries and the fact that he's out of minor league options, but Joey Wiemer, a little bit younger, a little bit more power. He has options left. So maybe, this was a nice day for Wiemer. And if he has a few more like this, then maybe he's a guy that actually sticks with this organization moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's just fine player, I guess. Like, he's got some nice speed, could play all 3 outfield spots. Once upon a time, this was a top 100 prospect. So I feel like, maybe some consistent playing time for him would definitely help. And he certainly got that in that Mets series. He played all 3 games against Washington too, I want to say, or 1 or 2 out of the 3. And he'll probably get a lot more playing time now with Derek Hill out. So, the power's still there. Clearly, we saw it today, and he could hit some moonshots. I'm going to be curious to see what happens when Stowers is back and Conine, if Conine does end up coming back this season, to see what they do there, because they've got quite a bit of outfielders still that could all play, I would say. So, yeah, I would hope that someone like VMJ is considered a little bit higher regard than someone like Joey Wiemer, just given.
Honestly, I don't know these days.
I was going to say, that's why I said I hope, because I feel like maybe Wiemer would not be the first one down in this case. But, yeah, I think he's a fine player. I think the underlying stuff certainly is good, but he has a pretty ugly swing and not a great approach. So we have to see if he fine-tunes that before we make any certain claims that he will be on the 2026 spring training roster, whatever you want to call it.
Right. That's one way of putting it. It's an unorthodox swing. You could call it ugly. That's
Kyle Seeloff said it from our article. So
a lot of moving parts in the swing. You know what type of player this guy, Justin Maxwell, that type of maybe.
I remember him.
Fringe 4th outfielder guy that could play like Kevin said, all 3 outfielders. That was the first thing that came to my head. Justin Maxwell is, and I think Justin Maxwell is probably better. I don't think Wiemer's gonna have as good of a seasons as Maxwell did have with Houston. He had a pretty decent one with Kansas City as well.
That was his first homer since 2023. I found out. Not great, but that was Wiemer's first homer since 2023.
Yeah, it's
been a while.
I don't like either player, but I do like Victor Mesa Jr. better. So I do hope that they're valuing his playing time more than Wiemer.
Yeah.
Then with Hill probably I think his season's over. I would have to assume, right? Like,
yes,
nothing. Yeah, him and I guess Dane too. Dane very unlikely to come back, I would assume.
Yeah, Dane with an oblique strain. Actually, this is a good opportunity just to get caught up on this injury situation, because this is the most banged up. Well, yeah, I mean, we're still kind of pending the confirmation on Edward, but certainly I think we'll get the final word either tomorrow or Friday about him going on the IL with his elbow concern. This is the overview here about everybody that's hurt. Look at all the guys on the bottom that are on the 60-day IL. Weathers is coming back. Conine, we think, very likely to come back. All those other guys done for the season. And then you just look at the guys on the 40-man that can be moved to the 60-day if needed, like Edward. Jansen Junk is coming back. We made a rehab start yesterday. We expect him back as soon as Monday from the IL. But Dane, we'll see. And Declan Cronin, he's hurt. Gusto, we don't know. Probably unlikely that he's coming back. And, but that's kind of an overview of everybody that's banged up right now to create these opportunities for all these other players. A reminder that when guys are on the major league injured list, they still get paid their regular salaries. So for people beating up the Marlins for being very cheap and spending less on payroll than any other teams, these are unexpected expenses that they have so many guys hurt at the same time. They have to pay they're paying the 28 active big leaguers, and they're paying all these guys on the injured list. So they're paying like 40 something guys major league salaries at the same time.
Tyler Zuber's getting paid.
Tyler Zuber is getting
accruing major league service time, I believe, right?
Yes, correct.
Wow.
Yes.
Braxton Derrick can be a vet real soon.
Major league service time for him and for Ryan Gusto, as well as just about all those guys. So that is kind of an overview about where things stand with that. And Weathers is making what should be his final rehab start tomorrow night in Jacksonville. So assuming that goes, the rotation outlook potentially for the rest of the year, assuming that rehab goes just fine for Weathers, is that you still have Sandy, you still have Eury available to work through this. You have Junk coming back, Weathers, and then you have Adam Mazer, who I think is kind of set up to spend these last few weeks in the rotation as long as he doesn't get hurt. And I mean, Isaac, just a final word on Mazer. You watched his start. Like, it was weird. He allowed a bunch of hits, but there were good moments in there.
So a lot of good moments, a few good moments, I should say. The best being in that 6th inning when he put himself in a jam and he had the meat of that very interesting Nationals lineup, struck out James Wood, retired CJ Abrams, and to be able to complete 6 innings for the first time since his major league debut last year as a member of the San Diego Padres. So you got to take that positively. And then you look at the bat, just a lot of soft contact that found a lot of grass, as Clayton McCullough said, especially in that 2nd inning, a few little flary doubles on the right field line and left field line, and then followed by another hit by Marlin killer Jacob Young. So it seemed he seemed to be pretty unlucky. I believe his FIP was in the 3s versus his game ERA was in the 6s. So an unlucky start. And to me, it showed a lot that he was able to complete 6 innings, like I said, for the first time in a long time. And he's in line to face the Phillies on Sunday against Taijuan Walker, if I'm not mistaken. So another opportunity to face the Phillies yet again at home, more friendly environment, hopefully. So I still have hope for Mazer. I think he can be a pretty solid number 4, number 5.
Yeah. One other news item I wanted to get to today, Jacob Marcy officially winning National League Rookie of the Month for August, the first Marlins Rookie of the Month since Trevor Rogers back in his year. I remember still vividly Trevor winning those back-to-back Rookie of the Month awards at the start of 2021, and that was the last time for a team this year that is stuffed with rookies. There have been great moments from Augustine when he got called up, from Heriberto when at times when he got off to a hot start. On who am I missing that really stood out in a small sample?
Pauly.
Graham Pauly had his good moments, but in terms of a full month actually being the best in the NL, it was Marcy, and he kind of I had an article prepared on this for several days because it was obvious, like it was a slam dunk that he was going to win this. An OPS of like 1058 over the course of the month to go along with a bunch of stolen bases, playing good in center field, like 2 wins above replacement in a single month. That is a very good rookie year for anybody. And to do that in a single month, your very first month in the big leagues, yeah, this guy couldn't have really expected anything more. Kevin, like he kind of stepped into the void when Jesus Sanchez left, and then he had a month that was honestly better than any single month that Sanchez had in his whole Marlins career. That's not really to knock Sanchez. That's just to put in perspective how valuable Marcy was right away to start his big league career.
Yeah, you said it. He's been great. I mean, since the day he got up here or up to Miami, facing the Yankees, that first game was great. 3 walks against 3 high leverage arms and the starter. Well, 2 high leverage arms and the starter. Had the hit as well. Like he's been great. Showed off the power too, which I didn't really think he had in him, at least at the next level. So it's been impressive what he's been able to do, and as well with the speed, the defense, playing all 3 outfield spots too pretty well. So it's a guy who for a while had those underlying numbers that really just, you knew he got on base a lot, made good decisions, had a good approach at the plate, but really never broke through in the minor leagues. And finally in AAA was able to break through this season, and it's showing, and he's been great. So good for him. Hopefully he finishes out the season strong, and he's probably penciled in as your starting center fielder in 2026 already.
He was 0 for the month going into today. A little bit worried there. 0 for 7 in the first 2 games number. Yeah. But right away, he shows you just how good he is offensively and how comfortable he is in that box. After everyone in the whole lineup looked overmatched against this pitiful Nationals pitching staff. But it's good to see him get back on the board today.
The little thing that continues to impress me is for a guy that was genuinely bad against lefty pitching in the minors last year and this year. This year, when he was putting up, he was so good at AAA overall. Like there were huge platoon splits. He was not really hitting lefties in the minors, and all of a sudden, small sample size in the big leagues, it's an OPS like close to 1,200 against lefties, including a couple home runs. He's not striking out against them either. So like that's kind of the one knock I had. The major thing that made me wonder, is he really going to be an everyday player at the big leagues? And that is still not entirely proven one way or the other, but it's this kind of stretch that he didn't even have in the minors against same-handed pitching. So 2 more hits today to break out of his slump his little 0 for 7 slump today to get a pair of hits in there. Yeah, he continues to impress me. Probably not going to win another Rookie of the Month award in September, but we'll see. They're going to give him, especially with all these injuries piling up, he's going to be playing basically every day. To this point, you got to give him. I guess one small thing that I've enjoyed about this season is that they're really letting the kids play. They're not giving them off days unless they really need it. He is 33 for 33 in terms of playing every single game that the Marlins have had to this point in the season. So just keep throwing him out there unless there's a guy that really deserves it or unless there's any sort of slump. But there really has not been anything close to that to this point, and that's why he's been in there every single day, either as a starter or coming off the bench. So yeah, he is. We're going to tease it a little bit more towards the end of the stream, but we have our new Fish Unfiltered episode with Clayton McCullough publishing tomorrow, and he mentioned Marcy as well in that. And the plan is that he's going to continue to hit either second or third in the lineup basically every single day down the stretch, whether it's against a lefty or a righty, to keep proving himself. And he looks like a guy that even when this team is healthy, that he's going to be in the heart of this lineup for the foreseeable future because it looks so legit. Alrighty. What else did I want to get to? I think we could start looking ahead a little bit to this Phillies series. I think my expectation is that because Valente Belloso is kind of the one guy in this bullpen that was not used the last few days, that he's probably going to be starting the series opener for the Marlins. They've already announced that Sandy is starting on Saturday, coming off a series of excellent outings for him. And then we'll figure out what Sunday happens to be with this team, because they'll have that full rotation back in effect next week once Junk comes off the IL and Weathers. But this is kind of a vulnerable time for a team that's already playing pretty poorly, that they kind of have to have these makeshift spot start bullpen games this weekend's coming up against a first place Phillies team. But yeah, because we know that Sandy is starting, I guess is another opportunity to talk about him and how awesome he's been. This is now 4 straight starts, Isaac, where he's looked so close to kind of the vintage version of himself. There were times earlier on where we kind of tried to squint and see the old Sandy, but now you really don't have to do it. Like it's as clear as day that he has been just, everything is clicking for him and the results are backing it up. And all of a sudden he's really ending this season on a high note after being terrible for so much of it.
There were 2 nice stretches of Sandy season so far. It was that 2-game stretch where I believe it was San Diego and one other team, and he looked good, and he more so looked like 2020, 2021 Sandy. I'd like to say there were still some issues there, but these last 4 starts against Boston, St. Louis, Atlanta, and New York, he has truly looked like vintage Sandy, and it all goes back to the changeup commands. He is finally locating that pitch and putting it exactly where he wants. That allows sinker and fastball to play up. The command of those pitches has been excellent. The curveball is doing what it needs to do. Every off-speed pitch has been doing exactly what he did in 2020, basically. And it looks like he's finally adjusted back with the coaching staff, with the new pitching coach, and sort of adjusted back towards the league on the different type of arsenal that he's going to utilize. But yeah, in those 4 starts, Sandy has gone 6 innings and then 7-7-7 against, frankly, 4 pretty good teams. Maybe except from St. Louis. But in those 4 games, and 1.67 ERA, 2.62 FIP, walked 5 guys compared to 29 strikeouts. He's just pitched excellently over these last 4 starts, and I hope to see it going against Philadelphia on Saturday. It's going to be a really fun one on Saturday. It'll be against Jesus Luzardo at Lone Depot Park at 4:10. That'll be followed by Christopher Sanchez on Friday for the Phillies. So it's going to be a tough homestand against a couple of lefties for Philadelphia going. I think it was Taiwan Walker on Sunday. But yeah, Sandy, hopefully we see him push through for the rest of the year and end out really on top for Sandy after a really tough year.
Mm-hmm. Just a peek at the position players without going deep into a particular lineup, but this is all the hitters on both of these active rosters for now. I had not realized it, but yes, Brian Navarreto is on the Marlins roster. We have not seen him in a game yet, but when he appears, that'll break a 5-year drought between his Marlins appearances at the big league level. So seeing him at the top of the screen, there's a good chance that he gets into a game this weekend. So good for him. But other than that, that's kind of an overview of where things stands. As referenced before, we think Derek Hill is going to go on the IL. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what the corresponding move for that is. Probably not going to be anything too sexy in terms of who they call up.
Back Jack Winkler.
Yeah, that is a speculation, is that Jack Winkler would make a lot of sense to keep the seat warm while the other guys are finishing up their rehab assignments, mainly Kyle Stowers being potentially just a few days away from coming back himself from his oblique injury. And yeah, on the Phillies side, it's gonna be fun to watch Kyle Schwarber, Kevin, coming down the stretch. Like he's kind of the one guy that might be able to wrestle away NL MVP from Shohei Ohtani. And he's, how many home runs does he have at the moment? Is he at 49?
49, yeah.
He's that's the one that he's at the top of the screen, but that's kind of the guy that was top of mind for me. We know a lot of these Phillies hitters, they've had so much continuity with their team, but yeah, Schwarber is the one that on a team that has a lot of good position players and the team that has so much star power, he's the one that's having the biggest year, and obviously doing in the home run department, having a 4-homer game just a few days ago. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to watch as he like continues to do his best to win, to contend for an MVP as a DH in a way that just rarely happens.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, I guess Shohei won it last year only as a DH, so I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, he definitely has the best chance to do it, right? I mean, he's 49 home runs. The way he's played, it's crazy. He's only 32. I thought he was a lot older than that, but no, he's 32 years old, and he's been around for a very long time. So the fact that he's still doing this at this age is really just impressive, and he's been great since going to Philly. I mean, 46 homers in 22, 47 in 23. 38 in 2024, and then this year 49, which leads the majors, and also has 119 RBIs. So he's been really good to, it's a fun watch for sure. So I'm looking forward to seeing him the next couple days. Hopefully he doesn't do too much against the Marlins, but knowing the Marlins, like he's probably the best choice for Series MVP. So yeah.
Fascinating MVP discussion. If Kyle Schwarber can somehow win, and I don't believe that voter fatigue should ever be a thing. I don't, give it to the best season. But man, what a funny thing that would be if Kyle Schwarber ends up winning there. He leads the league in RBI. He leads the league in homers, obviously. He's got a 943 OPS compared to Shohei's 998. Obviously, Shohei is way more in the wins above replacement, but man, it would be really something if Kyle Schwarber were able to somehow secure an MVP. I think Shohei would have to pitch really, really poorly, and Schwarber would have to continue and maybe reach 60 home runs in order for him to maybe make it a discussion. But it would really be something. And what a fascinating.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, what a weird MVP season for like on both sides, right? Like potentially Schwarber for the NL, and then you have Kyle Raleigh of all people,
right.
For the AL. So it would be cool to see different names, obviously, than the same Judge and Ohtani's, but they've both been awesome too. So it's a fun race for both sides.
Right. Fascinating free agency for Schwarber as well. He's going to enter age 32 free agency, you said. DH only. He's putting together the best season of his career. What's he going to get? What are teams willing to give him? Would they be willing to give him 4 or 5 years? I don't think so. It's going to be a fascinating free agency.
The Marlins won't be on. Marlins won't be in on him, but
right. I remember when they were kind of discussing it when they opted for Soler, not opted for. They just couldn't afford Schwarber. That's when I really wanted them to get Schwarber.
I remember that. Yeah,
it was in 2021, I believe.
2020. No, 2022, right?
Yeah,
2021 into
21 going into the 22 season. Yeah.
But yeah, this will be even more fascinating for Schwarber. I can't wait to see what ends up happening.
It's just really rare to see a guy that is at least on a salary per year basis. He's going to get more money this time around, even if it's not total years, at least money per year he's going to be heading into 33 than he did at 29. You just never see that at all. Like usually the big money is going to come when you're in your late 20s, and he's just, the previous few years have gone very well for him, but now all of a sudden just a perfectly timed walk year where he's been better than ever. And even for a guy that historically has had such a low batting average, all of a sudden this year he's like back up to league average in that department. And you combine that with the power, it's going to be fascinating. And it comes at a time where it's just before any of that lockout CBA concerns. This is going to be the last normal offseason before that. So it just lined up perfectly for him, where even if he stays with the Phillies are probably going to be the favorites to re-sign him. At least it costs them more money. They'll have to make some decisions at other parts of their roster if they want to keep Korver. So maybe in a little small way, the Marlins kind of are, they wouldn't mind rooting for him to individually hike up his own price if it means that it makes other decisions more difficult for the Phillies as a result of that. Yeah, the other, I guess, a couple of notable roster changes for the Phillies since they last played the Marlins. Harrison Bader, they acquired him at the trade deadline from the Twins. So he's playing quite a bit of left field and center field for them, and he's been pretty good. And they also just signed Walker Buehler, a guy that I'm very familiar with because I looked at him very closely as I thought maybe the Marlins would take a flyer on him last offseason. He ended up getting a lot more money than I thought he should have gotten. And that ended up very poorly for the Red Sox. They cut him very recently. And now the Phillies have added him. I don't think that he's going to appear in this.
He's in AAA. Yeah, he's in AAA, I think. Yeah.
Right. So he won't factor into this series. He is going to apparently pitch for them, and they'll give him a shot to earn some sort of role heading into the postseason for them. That's going to be very weird for a guy that's just having an awful season, that had an awful year last year during the regular season and just did enough in the playoffs to get people hopeful again and to help the Dodgers win a World Series last year. But during the actual regular season games, ever since coming back from Tommy John, he has been really ineffective. So that's a weird player.
Let's not forget Yohan Duran joining their
The
back end of their bullpen, and has been pretty much spectacular, just as advertised for the Phillies. 13 games at 10 and 2/3 innings pitched, 1.69 ERA, and just striking out everybody. It's not going to be a fun test for the Marlins to have to face him. I'm not as big of a fan of his walk-in entrance as a lot of people are. I don't really enjoy it. I think there's other ones that are way cooler. But no, what do you mean?
No,
like AJ,
that was probably the best
Pucks,
one.
AJ Pucks was better. Trevor Hoffman's was better.
No, AJ Puck.
AJ
Oh
Pucks.
my
Tanner
God.
Scotts was better. Yohan Duran.
No, it wasn't. It was. They do the same thing at the ballpark every time.
It's too Spanish for
Anthony
clubbing. It's like Spanish
Veneziano
clubbing. I don't like it. But anyway,
of course, because it's Spanish, you have an issue with it. Okay.
No,
Jeez,
not that it's Spanish.
I'm sending this to Danny Alvarez.
Not that it's Spanish. It's that it's like it feels like a club in there for an entrance. I don't like that. It's not a DJ sport. But anyway.
Yes, there are many that are better than that one, but right now that one is the best one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to see Seth Martinez trot out the walk-up song?
I think Edwin Diaz's is by far better.
Yeah, it's not as popular as it once was, but yes, I agree.
I was in the ballpark to see Edwin's entrance. It must have been on Saturday's game. Yeah, but it wasn't like the ideal time for that because the Mets were down by a run in that moment, and he ended up actually allowing 2 runs, so it wasn't even effective. When they were actually trailing in the game, it doesn't really hit the same. It also wasn't the sun had not set. When it's at night, I think, in generally speaking, it hits a lot better when it's at night and they're able to do more things with the lights. So I was able to see the Edwin one that wasn't particularly memorable this time around because of the circumstances. But yeah, Duran has been awesome for them to this point, and he's under control for 2 more years, I think, after this.
2 more years.
Yeah, so that's a move where Dave Dombrowski is always aggressive, and the fact that he was able to actually get a guy with club control, he traded some of his best prospects to get it done. And more often than not, those deals are kind of working out for the Phillies. That's why they've been in contention now for 4 straight years. And yeah, a tough break for the Marlins to be in their division and having to deal with this team 13 games a year because they're a very aggressive team and they make a lot of good decisions. So that is, they're here and they are very well set to win this National League East division this year. Okay, the last thing before we go into prediction time, it's a good opportunity to just plug the upcoming Unfiltered, the first episode that we've done in a little while. You guys and Clayton, I was able to watch behind the scenes, and I got to finish editing that stuff and cutting up some fun clips for everybody to share. Just give people a sneak peek in terms of what they, what you guys covered on this conversation with Clayton.
He was very honest, so I'll give him that. We appreciate that for sure. Dove into some of the moves. He, as you can see from the teaser clip, he did ask us which moves we did not agree with maybe, and he we've spoken to him quite a bit off off the record and stuff, and he's well aware of Fish on First and what it is, and he appreciates our work, and this is fun. This is a fun time. We dove into quite a bit, and we appreciate his. It was 30 minutes. It's quite a bit of long time for what it is, and right before he essentially did this, and then right after that went out to talk to the media. So he essentially did 2 scrums in one day. So very much appreciated. Dove into the lineup construction against the lefties and all that stuff. So I'm not going to spoil too much more, but yes, it was very good stuff.
I think what I'm most proud of is that we got him to show a little bit of personality there. He really did show who he was a little bit, off camera. You see him in scrums on FanDuel Sports Network. You see him when he's doing a formal interview, but he sort of laid back a little bit with us and chit-chatted and asked us our opinion on a few things. We did, give him flack, I guess, for some of the moves. We did mention the irregularities of certain guys being used in certain situations out of the bullpen. We talked about lineup construction, like Kevin said, and a lot of fun stuff. Highly recommend you listen. 30 minutes long, should be out tomorrow. And Clay, very nice guy. So don't be too harsh when you guys see Josh Simpson pitching the 9th inning of a tie game.
Well, wait a minute. Yes, there's a reason to be harsh, but he's a good guy. He's actually a really cool dude. Like when we've spoken to him many times, so. Yeah, he's cool. I like Clayton. Clayton's a good dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope he's watching this. He watches these every once in a while. So.
Yeah, he spoke to us out of the dugout the other day, saying, I always watch when you guys predict us to lose, and when you guys do, we want to get the win." And
so
I hope he doesn't think about that in the dugout. But yes, apparently.
On our usual scheduling, when we previously did the hour leading into the first pitch, it'd be very difficult for him to watch. But with this new scheduling format, I don't know what he's up to after the game.
On the flight, he's watching.
Yeah, he's got the headphones in and he's locked in watching right now.
I think this may be a more convenient time in terms of getting members of the Marlins organization to actually get our full insights on what's going on with the team.
And he does make the decisions, apparently. No, I'm joking. He does.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that. Yeah, we'll let him state his case. It should be said that as much as we appreciate him, it's ultimately up to each person to decide how much they buy and how much they don't, because this is still just public comments from him. We think he was very honest and transparent and forthcoming, but ultimately still it's on the record, and there's only so much stuff you can say on the record that compared to the true nitty gritty that's going on behind the scenes. But yeah, I enjoyed it very much, and it was glad to catch up with him in person briefly these past few days early in the road trip. So with that being said, we're still going to do prediction time, even though we're 2 full days ahead of the next series. We're going to keep with the usual routine on here. So without further ado,
this is prediction time.
I think we're going to win a lot more games than you think we're going to win this year.
Yes. So as we've been doing all year, we keep track of how many games the Marlins are going to win, and your series MVP is determined by win probability added. We keep the predictions from our staffers, our super subs, and our live stream guests on these shows. So this is an updated look. Very little movement on the leaderboard, just because very few people expected the Marlins to lose this series to such a struggling Nats team. It got a little bit tighter on top. I know that Sean Millerick has been watching in our audience for most of this show. He crept up a little bit, so he's still very much in the race. Hector Rodriguez up top by a few points ahead of our next best super subs to this point. There are, we're just 7 more series to go, so there is still some wiggle room here. But anybody below the cutoff is essentially, I think at this point, everybody below the cutoff is mathematically eliminated, myself included, Isaac included, and a lot of others. So this is kind of part of the case for why we can do prediction time so far in advance, because we're all pretty terrible at making predictions, even heading into first pitch, even when we have all the information about starting pitching probables and injuries and stuff like that. It did not really translate to making accurate predictions. So why not still do it this time around with a few days further in advance, even lacking some information. So I have the background set up. It's a 3-game set between these teams. We usually lead off as usual with Kevin on here. So I will get the music going. For our super subs that are watching, there will still be a page set up on the site leading up to first pitch where you can leave those predictions as well. So still plenty of time for you guys to decide out there, but we're going to give our own picks right now ahead of time. So let me get the music going and then give it up to Kevin to make his predictions.
With the MVP. Sorry, Clayton, but gotta go with gain some ground. I hope I'm proven wrong, but Phillies take 2 out of 3. Schwarber's the MVP.
All right, that worked out. So Isaac, go ahead.
Alrighty, I do think that the Marlins, for some reason, play better when they're not favored against 2 tough lefty pitchers in Luzardo and Christopher Sanchez. Marlins win 2 out of 3. John Mayberry Jr., Series MVP.
Give an actual, please.
Oh, I'm proud that you knew that wasn't a current Philly, Kevin. Good shit. No, I'm gonna stick with mine. I'm already mathematically eliminated.
Oh my god,
that's fair. Yeah, I've very organically there has now become this pattern among my staffers to send me MVP picks that are not active players anymore. So
Noah Berger MVP.
Whatever that is, that's kind of what he was going for there. I'm going to have the Phillies winning 2 out of 3 in this series. Marlins, I think that Mets series was an anomaly. That this Marlins team is just so banged up at this point, and it's hard to be motivated at this time of year under these circumstances. So I think the Phillies take another series. And their MVP, as usual, I'll go with some left-handed bat on this team. Schwarber is a little bit obvious. Why not Max Kepler? Max Kepler is going to have some big hits over the course of these next few days to make the difference over the weekends in Miami. Okay. Fish on First Live with Eli Sussman, Kevin Barral, Isaac Azud. It's good to see some of the regulars in the live chat over the course of this episode. And I'm most excited just to repurpose this content afterwards, some of our segments that we discussed, and to the biggest thing was just getting this onto the podcast feed as well at a time where some of our takes don't age like milk, like they're still current enough to still be useful to people. So if you are listening to this long, hopefully a few of you will have found it on the Fish on First podcast channel, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts is available there. And that's the same place where you can find the unfiltered conversation with Clayton as well. So hopefully you listen to both of those back to back and enjoy what we're doing down the stretch. So yeah, still exactly to be determined how we'll handle the streams the rest of the season. But as long as we're able to get a decent amount of guests on these shows, we might stick with the post-series format here. So yeah, still exactly to be determined, but I will communicate with everybody in advance in terms of how we're going to handle this stuff down the stretch. Appreciate everybody that stuck with us. Presented by About the Fans. It's where you can get our merch. Isaac's hat is in the mail as well. And for our t-shirts, stickers, other accessories, use the promo code FOF10 to save 10% off your order at aboutthefans.com. This has been FOF Live. As always, go fish.
Fish on First Live is presented by About the Fans. We've partnered with them this season on a brand new merchandise collection featuring t-shirts, polos, hats, and other accessories that Marlins fans will absolutely love. Head on over to aboutthefans.com to shop the FOF collection. Use our special coupon code FOF10 to save 10% off your order. Enter code FOF10 at checkout to save 10% and continue supporting what we do over here.